Hi, thank you for connecting with me. So today I'm going to talk about 3 simple steps to handle your ego. So I will first start with answering some questions about what is ego and why it's important to deal with ego. And then in the end, I'm going to share 3 simple steps to handle your ego. So first of all, let's look at what is ego. As we know, ego has such a bad name that I think lots of people on this, you can say, spiritual awakening journey or in your ascension journey, actually ego play a very important role. So now let's start with looking at what is ego. Okay, so as most people know, we are spiritual beings having physical experience. So for example, this is our soul. And then when we try to have experience in this physical world, we need a suit where we can see, we can feel, we can taste, we can do many things in the physical reality. So that's why we need to have a suit. So you can say we need a layer. So this layer of consciousness, we call it ego. Ego is an identity. So when the little child, like especially 2 years old, you will start to hear they say, it's mine. So it's actually they are developing the ego from the young, from we are born as a human being. And along the way, the ego is developing. So we actually starting within having the ego. So ego itself is actually neutral. You can say it's a device helping us to do what we need to do on the earth. But why ego is so important? The main key is because ego can make decision. That's very important. When the ego can make decision, that means certain power is given to the ego, right? So ego will start to perceive, okay, that is mine, and I want to have this and that. So as we grow, the ego will start to cultivate its persona. So we can say personality. So that's why it's important, the early childhood stage, the parents' input is very important, because that's where ego start to form, and then the personality start to form. And then after the personality, as we grow older, as we know, there will be also some personality that we are known to us, and there are some personality is hidden. So that's what we call shadow. So in another video, I'll find the time to make another video about shadow. It's also related to the ego aspect. But today I want to focus on the ego. So why is it important? Because the ego has the power to make decisions. So along the time when ego have attachment, something to do with the sensation, when you attach to certain experience, like when you drink, make you feel good. So because the attachment to certain things, along the way, if there's more desire that is generated from ego, that's why the ego start to grow. At certain stage in our spiritual journey, you'll find more or less we're coming to the time we need to deal with ego. It's not something we can really avoid. But there's another question is about people talking about ego death. Are we really able to destroy ego? Instead of destroy, let's say we are more into cultivate a healthy ego, because as I said earlier, ego is the suit for us to experience this physical reality. Through the ego, we experience 5 senses. Okay, we see, we hear, we taste, we feel. So it's literally impossible you get rid of ego. The ultimate, the best way is to handle ego very well, and then in the end you can embrace ego and then integrate your lower self, it's like an ego, and with your higher self into oneness. So this is the time when you reach, when people say enlightenment, it's kind of that stage when they really embrace their ego and then emerge. There's no difference, and that's the ultimate goal. But in this process, there are lots of stages to go through. It's like you can say like a wild horse. So you don't control it. It can be leading you to, you can say, destruction. In a way, is to bring you down. Because with attachment, you can generate some emotion. Like you can be jealous and you have hatred. Or when you have some certain experience, you have fear. So you will get a lot of emotion that will be, if you have attachment, then this emotion, you take this energy tray in your system. Because we all have Akashic record, and it's all related to the karma we generate. And I'll try to find a time to make a separate video talking about karma. It's such a big topic. So I will look into that and find the timing. I will talk deeper into that subject. So today we're coming back to see why we need to look at ego if you're really serious about your spiritual journey, your spiritual growth, or in this ascension path. Because in the end, you really have to look at the ego and then how you gonna integrate. So that's why today I'm going to share the 3 simple steps to handle your ego. Because if you don't handle it, the heaviness is gonna generate more and more and more without you knowing it. That's why I'm going to say the 3 simple steps that can help you to cultivate a healthy ego. So the first step is to bring your awareness to ego. So a lot of time, lots of people, we more or less know when we are angry, we know we're not happy. And when we're upset, we know why. And sometimes there's a trigger that will trigger our emotion. Ego is that switch to trigger your emotion. So when we have emotion, so we need to observe. So to observe, you have many ways. I think the easiest way for people to do is meditation. And meditation, you can start with just sitting down a quiet time. And I did vipassana before. I think it's helping. But along the time, you don't really just do the observation when you meditate, because it can be only 20 minutes in a day, in the 24 hours or something like that. So, but it's a starting point, something for you to observe yourself. And then, you can start with observing your breath, and then you can observe your thoughts. So any thoughts coming in your mind, so it just bring your awareness. And then you can slowly practice to every moment. It's like because meditation has many different ways. When you eat, you can meditate. When you walk, you can meditate. So the best way of meditation is all the time. It's like you can literally, some are really good that can even meditate when they are sleeping. They can be very aware of what's happening, and they can watch their thoughts. But it's all a matter of practice. So you can start with simple way, whatever suits you, or whatever suitable for you to start with, and slowly you can extend it to your day-to-day life. So sometimes we out of focus, but you just take it back, observe. So when you eat, so that's why it's important to live in the moment, in that because you are aware what you're doing, you observe yourself. And then, okay, so there are so many ways. So it's simple ways. Okay, I'm eating. So you can even talk yourself, I'm doing this, I'm doing. And sometimes there's a thought coming out, or when you talk to someone, and you just have to be more sensitive. But it's all matter of practice, because no one can do it for yourself. We all are responsible for our own thoughts, our speech, our action. So this is how we start with observing ourselves through meditation. So when you watch, you're separate from the ego itself. Because normally, a lot of time people are not aware. That's why the ego is in charge. So the first step is when you watch, bring the awareness. When you are aware to ego, that's when you can start to move on to the next step. The second step is to make a choice, a conscious choice. Are you following the ego's choice? Are you want to be upset about the situation? It's like when you drive a car and then you can press the brake. So you hang on. I choose not to go with the ego's choice. As I said earlier, ego can decide. And that's why a lot of time ego making the decision. So the ego become the boss, so it is dominating a lot of our decision. So there are lots of decisions can be based on the ego. And that's why we give the power to ego. So that's why we have the choice. When we have the choice, when we starting with observation, and then we can decide, cultivate a healthy ego. You can talk to your ego, you say, that's okay, relax. Treat it like your friend or a child, whatever you feel like to have this, the interaction with your ego. Because you need to know, ego is also learning. Ego also having its experience. So, I don't think it's a good idea to see ego as enemy, because enemy is become like a separation, because you see something separate from you. But then you need to really, in the end, when you really want to grow faster, it's very important to embrace your ego. You also can educate the ego. Today is basically give you an idea why it's important to watch your ego. Because when you raise your vibration, it will become, you can actually feel it stronger. At some certain stage, you feel very strong. So that's a time in front of your face. And that's why some people will have this ego battle, So it's just a quick recap. Like we firstly is to start with observation. And you can start with something small. Even every day start with 5-10 minutes, or whenever you have free time. You just observe yourself, your thoughts, and you observe how you interact with others. By yourself, it's easy to start with. Most of the time, it's hard. Make it harder is actually your interaction with someone, because there are so many information in and out, and then someone talking to you, and you, because sometimes we cannot expect what is coming out from someone. And this is when our ego will step in, and that's why a lot of people not aware become the ego leading all this reaction. So once you are be more aware, then you can have the choice to decide, are you go with the ego that it be the boss, or you can tame it down. So over the time, you can manage your ego better. And even then be friend with ego, because we need to respect ego. He's playing certain role in our physical existence. So I don't really think we can get rid of ego. Instead we need to cultivate a healthy ego. So basically, that's all I want to share today. Okay, so I want you to share your experience with ego, or if you have any questions, you can put in the chat. You're welcome to subscribe my channel, like the video, and share the video to your communities. Hopefully, the information I'm sharing today can be of some help for you to have better understanding about ego and how you can handle it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.